All right, welcome to the podcast for howtoraiseanawesomeKid.com. This is Justin, and with me, as always, is...
This is Eric.
Eric, man, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you, man?
I'm all right. How was your weekend?
So far, so good. I actually spent most of today lounging by a pool or in a pool. Got to eat some burgers and some hot dogs.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's I didn't do any of that stuff. I did eat a burger from Wendy's. So not quite the same. Did you grill your own, or did you get it somewhere?
We were actually visiting family, so they did the grilling.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty tasty.
We don't have a grill at all.
Oh, that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I know. So, but my wife volunteered to have us host 4th of July party. So we have to get a grill quick. So that's gonna be my birthday is like 4 days after 4th of July. So that's gonna be my birthday present.
All right, we need to talk about this. What kind of grill are you looking at?
I'm definitely looking at gas. I know. But the thing is, like, I'm not the biggest fan of grilling to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think part of that has been just because I've always only had like charcoal grills, and it's just the lead up and getting it all ready and everything. And as it turns out, despite being a Boy Scout, I'm awful at starting a fire.
How do you start a fire?
A ton of lighter fluid.
Okay, I'm not trying to be a grill snob, even though it goes against all of my instincts.
Yeah.
But that's probably your problem number one right there, is the lighter fluid. I always kind of cry a little whenever I smell lighter fluid, because it just seems like somebody's doing it wrong.
Well, what's the secret?
Well, the secret is simple. You just go out to any kind of store that sells grilling supplies of any kind, and they're going to have something called a chimney starter. It looks about like a tall coffee can, probably about 8 inches in diameter. There's a little grate towards the bottom. So what you do is you fill the top part of it, which is probably about 7/8 of this thing filled with charcoal, and then at the bottom you light something. It lights that bottom set of charcoal. That charcoal, the heat from that, lights charcoal all the way up. You can use just
give me a time frame, like start to finish, like from the moment that I light it to the moment when I can start putting meat on there. How long are we talking? If
you load the starter up with charcoal, you're probably talking, depending on the temperature outside, 20 or 30 minutes. Now,
that sounds like fun.
Once you get that, you can just dump it in the grill, and it's going to be ready to go really as soon as you can scrape the grill off and get the grate good and hot.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun at all, actually.
But here's the thing.
Here's 20 or 30 minutes, man. Right now, up until now, here's the thing. Up until now, I've been operating on a George Foreman grill in the kitchen.
Okay.
So that's 5 minutes, Start to getting ready to cook, I can just do that. So for me to go from 5 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes, that's a transition for me. The other thing is that, we were down in Nicaragua last year, and once we got down there, we had some issues setting up the utilities.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to, basically everything we ate came off of a gas grill for like 3 weeks. And I got pretty impressed with the versatility of being able to just kind of flip it on and get things going right away and have a meal pretty quickly.
I guess I can see that, but the trick to me is you just need to learn to value the time that the coals are lighting. That is time as a married man that you can say, "Hun, I can't. I'm cooking dinner." It's time that you can spend drinking.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can't get a couple beers down before the coals are ready, then you're not really doing your job.
Yeah. Well, you've made an interesting and valid argument. I'm still going to get a gas grill probably, but
let me stick out one more point here. I'm not done yet.
All right. But wait, there's more.
You could get a really awesome charcoal grill, probably for about the same price that you can get a piece of crap gas grill for.
I'm not going to go piece of crap. We're probably going to go a decent, not top of the line, but we're definitely going to go. We're not going to just. We're going to buy this thing for life.
Yeah.
We're going to hopefully get a grill that will be pretty impressive. The bad part is that we also have to get like a bicycle. We don't have a fence around our backyard yet, so the neighborhood is transitioning right now. So we're gonna have to probably get some sort of bicycle lock to some sort of chain to basically chain the thing to the shed.
Okay.
Because it probably won't fit through the door of the shed. And that's probably my other problem is that we don't really have a garage right now. We just have a shed in the backyard. We're in the city, so we don't really have a garage or any of that. So what we'd have is this little tiny shed, and I would have to keep the charcoal out there. And the shed is kind of dilapidated and leaky and mildewy, and So that's probably another consideration. I don't know. What to think about it.
I'm pretty sure I've had charcoal worse. I had, for about a year when we were living in an apartment, I had all of my charcoal in this kind of Fisher-Price toy box outside. It was not waterproof. Whenever it rained, there'd be like water puddle on the bottom, and when I tried to lift the charcoal bag out, the bottom would rip out and charcoal would fall everywhere. It's something to be careful for, but man, charcoal's worth it.
Well,
that's right.
It sounds like you have an opinion.
I'm going to push this point.
Yeah, I can see this conversation. Honey, I think we should get charcoal because Eric says so. I'll think about it.
Barbecue. I can't make, if it's not the kind of thing you enjoy, if you don't like setting fire to things and burning off your eyebrows, then charcoal's probably not for you.
But there's a strong possibility that'll happen with gas. I've done that before with a gas grill. You just let the gas go for a little too long before you hit the starter.
Yeah.
And then you have burnt eyebrows.
I got a new grill toy not long ago. This was back when Ashley had Harrison. I got us a cast iron grate for my grill.
I can't even picture what that is. What are you saying? Like just something that sits on top of the regular grill?
More or less. This is because I use, a particular kind of charcoal grill. It's a nice round grate, and this is a particular grate that you can put right in the middle. It's just cast iron with, I guess, some kind of porcelain coating that I don't pay too much attention to, even though I probably should take care of it a lot better. But the whole idea is that iron gets super hot, so you can just throw a steak on there and get the beautiful char marks. And it's not just an aesthetic thing, because you can go to Burger King and get a burger with those marks painted on.
Yeah, they draw it on with chalk, right?
Yeah, but that's not the same. If it's actually burnt, a little bit of a crust to it, oh, that's wonderful.
All right, I'll consider it.
You can get those for gas grills too. So either way you go, that's an option.
All right.
Just if you get it if you use it on a gas grill, you're probably.
Yeah. All right. Well,
don't take that personally.
I'm with you. We'll have to agree to we'll revisit this maybe at a later date, sometime before the 4th of July.
If you're ever out here, I'm going to grill a bunch of stuff for you.
All right. So have you been playing any video games lately?
There was a period of time when I was pretty sure that Diablo 3 was the only game in existence. Really poured some time into that, and I'm kind of talking about dad time right now. There are Diablo 3 nerds who were defeating the highest difficulty level almost instantly after the game came out. I'm not that guy. I'm just now getting to the 3rd difficulty level and playing through that, but a lot of my time was dedicated to that game over the past month or so since it's been out. Yeah,
you have to have fun with it. I never really got behind all that. I played Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 with people online, and they rushed through the game just kind of searching for loot, and I don't know, man. It wasn't fun. They would just it was it. There was no joy. It was just kind of a joyless running through the game, hacking and slashing, clicking like crazy, and looking for rare items to collect. That's not me. I'm much more about exploring and all that. So
yeah,
that's that, and also the reason my PC just really can't handle Diablo 3. So
you see, I think I got a lot more of the Pavlovian experience out of Diablo 2, where it did feel like after a while I was just pressing the left mouse button over and over again and being endlessly entertained by that.
Yeah, I'm very aware of that, and it drives me crazy.
I don't quite get the same feeling from Diablo 3. So, for what it's worth, I've had a great experience whenever I've played online with some of my friends back in Indianapolis, where I used to live. So, I've been having a good time with it. How about you?
Yeah, there's that social aspect. Kind of makes it worth it. Yeah, I've, I was kind of skipping around from game to game, and then, man, I hate to admit it, but I've been kind of, my pastime lately is I've been actually, podcasts are kind of a new thing for me. So I've been listening to podcasts like crazy while I play Minecraft on the Xbox, which is, I feel like I'm in an AA meeting. Like, hi, my name is Justin, and I play Minecraft. Minecraft is one of those things that kind of separates the OCD from the Asperger's, autism type of thing. Like, you know one way or the other which one you have depending on how you play that game. It's like Lego for man children. And I know what you're thinking, like, aren't Legos Lego for man children? You can't say Legos. If you say Legos, you get people on the internet very upset with you.
It's like the Jaws of shark movies.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like if you were a kid who didn't get enough. You only had like a small collection of Legos when you were a kid, and I
believe it's Legi.
That might be. You know what? You're right. Let's just call it that. If you had more than one Lego piece, you had Legi. If you had a multitude of if you had like a starter set of like 200 pieces of Legi, and that was it, and that's all you had to play with for 5 years, like me, then this is like a dream come true because it's unlimited blocks and you can just build whatever you want. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm just mindlessly. And here's another thing: like, if it was on a PC, I would be clicking a mouse like crazy. But because it's on the Xbox, I'm just pulling a trigger, and for some reason, it just feels like I'm not wasting my life away.
All right, so
it actually feels like I'm passing time.
I played the demo for Minecraft.
Yeah.
On Xbox. I never really jumped onto the PC thing because I was kind of in a Mac phase at the time.
Yeah.
It hasn't really grabbed me by both eyeballs and just pulled me in. So tell me what it is that you spend your time doing in Minecraft.
All right, so in Minecraft, you get this world on the Xbox. I mean, the PC version, I guess it's like a lot bigger deal, and they've actually worked in like RPG elements where you like, and this is in the Xbox too, but you build up like armor, and you go fight bad guys and stuff. I play it on like peaceful mode, which is basically there are no bad guys. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You're just literally building stuff. So on mine, what happens is that you get a map that's like a mile wide by a mile wide, and then also it's probably about a half mile deep from like the very top to the very bottom, and then midway through that top to bottom there's like sea level, and then above all that it's all air, and below all that it's nothing but rock, and then procedurally generated caverns. So if you start digging down, all of a sudden you'll find like this huge network of caverns that take you like, each one might take you like an hour or two to explore. And each time I've only generated one map where I'm going through and exploring that map, and that's been like for 3 or 4 weeks now. But every time you start a new map, it's new. It's procedurally generated. It's on the surface level there's oceans and deserts and ice and mountains and grass and trees and all that stuff. And then down below you go through and as you start to dig underground, there's iron and gold and diamonds and all sorts of stuff that you collect, and then there you use it to build stuff like train tracks, which is kind of my big thing. I've been using it to build like little train tracks that go all over the entire map, so I can kind of make like a giant Disney monorail. That's kind of been my hobby. Yeah. The other thing I was doing was I was building like a pyramid. So like a giant pyramid that like goes all the way up to the top of the game world as far as it can be. So that's it. I mean, it's really relaxing because you can just shut your brain off and just dig stuff and build stuff, and it's the perfect thing to just sit there and listen to a podcast or listen to some music.
Yeah. Like, I used to do that when I would play Civilization Revolution. I got to the point in that game where I could just play it on autopilot, and when I spent about 3 months unemployed a couple of years ago, I just played that nonstop and did podcasts. Just listen to those all the time.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so right now I'm the stay-at-home dad, and my son just, he takes naps 3 hours a day. So it's 3 hours where I probably should be writing stuff for the site. Instead, I'm playing this stupid game. And actually, sometimes I can't sleep, so that's another thing. I'll sit up for like an hour after my wife goes to sleep, and I'll just sit there and play that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a waste of time, but it's I don't know. You feel like you're exploring and building stuff. It feels like you're being productive.
Well, you could make that argument about gaming in general, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when it comes time for my kid to get into games, I mean, I know you grew up with video games. I grew up knowing that video games existed, but I never had a video game system until I was, grown up and out of the house and had my money to buy one. I was like 18 or 19 when I bought my first video games. So, I don't know. I know that growing up without that, I ended up being an okay person. And so I feel like I don't want my kid to end up, being like the 9-year-old or 10-year-old or 13-year-old that's going through like playing Modern Warfare online and swearing at people. I don't want my kid to end up being that kid. So the time to introduce games to kids, I don't know, man. When do you think? What's the right time? What's the right game?
I've actually started doing that with my son at this point. This past week, I started letting him play with a Game Boy Color.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got out my
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, my old Pokemon Edition one. Basically, when I was a kid, I always kind of really wanted to play with some toys that like my uncle would have played with or my dad, but they just weren't around. Yeah. Not my uncle or dad, but the toys. Toys have long been thrown out because that's what parents did back then. I kind of held back my old video games so my son could play with them. I've got this box full of Game Boy Color games. I kind of dole them out to my son one game at a time. If I gave him the whole box, they just all disappear. He's 5 years old. He's really getting a kick out of it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've found that I was talking about this with my wife last night, and I found that I'm very conservative about video games now, despite I mean, you and I dabbled in a career in video games when we were younger, and at that time, I remember I had a Nintendo 64 and I had bought like 30 games for it. I had a Dreamcast and I had like 30 games for that. PlayStation, same deal. And I told my wife last night, I was like, you know what? I think like an appropriate amount of games is like one for your birthday, one for Christmas. So like 2 a year, and that's it. Like, over the course of the lifespan of a console, 5 years, that's like a dozen games, which is a ridiculous amount of games. No kid should have that many games. That's what I'm thinking these days. I don't know. That sound to 20-year-old me, that sounds like ridiculous. But I don't know. I'm afraid that my kid's going to end up being a couch potato, and I don't know. It's gonna take the place of some actual creativity or productivity.
I'm not going to say you're wrong. I had that insane amount of games as well, probably from the same era, that Nintendo 64 PlayStation, because that's kind of when I got into college and had a job, and essentially all of my money at that time would go right into games because I didn't have any kind of other financial responsibilities. And like you said, we both used to work at gaming websites, so yeah, I mean, I guess it was important to stay up to date with that. Yeah,
I mean, it was important then, but I was also really interested because I think I was trying to catch up on a lot of the stuff that I didn't get to play when I was a kid. I mean, I should say, of course, I went over to a friend's house and we'd, you get out of school and you'd stay over there till dark, basically just playing, Super Mario Brothers and all those old like Nintendo games. And I mean, that's the era I'm from. But having a kid, it's I don't know. It's like to me, it's like installing a soda fountain in the kid's bedroom, or a cotton candy machine in their bedroom. Like this, it's too much of a good thing. Maybe like having a video game system in the house when they're younger, and letting them have kind of unlimited access.
I can't think of a logical reason to disagree with you. I came from like a completely different background. When I was a very small kid, I remember my dad had a Commodore 64, and I would beg for playtime on that. And later on, after my parents got divorced, my grandmother bought me a Commodore 128, thinking that would get me through college as a computer. That didn't happen, but there was...
Why not, man? Did they have like a printer and stuff for it? Were you able to turn in term papers on it? Or?
Didn't have a printer, I guess.
Oh, well,
the thinking was that I'd get one before college. I don't think I ever had a word processor for it. Realistically, Arlington Elementary School was just an awesome sneaker net of pirated Commodore 64 games.
Wow.
They were just all over the place. I had this great big box full of them, and that's what I did. I played those games. I actually met the best man at my wedding when I was riding my bike around the neighborhood and talked to him, and he knew how to beat Ghostbusters for the Commodore 64, and I did not.
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know what you do right now when you get stuck in video games. When I get stuck in video games, like the other day I was playing a game called Limbo, and it's just kind of an adventure puzzle game, and it's only like, I don't know, I think it only lasts like 2 or 3 hours maybe, but it never fails. Every 5 minutes I was getting stuck. So what do you do nowadays? You just go on YouTube. There is no like, there was a progression, I think, for us. Like, first there was, hey, there's a kid at school who knows how to beat this. And then it was, hey, there's you can go buy a guide at the store and it'll be $15. The game is $50. The guide is another $15.
Yeah.
And then you can use the guide to cheat. And then it was, the internet came around and people had written out like insanely long, 200-page long guides on how to beat games. And then now it's just, you just go on YouTube and you're literally just watching a guy beat the part that you're stuck at.
Yeah.
And then you go back and do that thing. So essentially, like, the YouTube is playing the game for you. It's like, okay, let's just plug it straight in and just do the game for me so I can just sit back and watch.
Yeah, and I remember all that stuff that we'll probably never see again. Like even with the Ghostbusters for the Commodore 64, I guess the big trick there was every now and then towards the end of the game, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man would come and just stomp on some buildings. The mayor would fine you a bunch of money. You'd go bankrupt, game over.
Yeah.
The trick was you had to press the B button to put down bait. I guess that made sense.
How do you know that? That was the thing. I remember playing the.
I knew it because Andrew Bannister told me.
Yeah, I played Ghostbusters for the. It's either the Atari 2600 or the 5200 or something. I don't remember which one it was, but there was a section in the game where, in order to get past it, there was a switch on the back of the console that you had to switch. Like midway through the game, you had to go like switch this switch from like control style A to control style B or something like that.
Oh, that's nuts.
That was the only way. Yeah, that was the only way you could get past that. And the only way you could figure this out was like there was something cryptic about it in the manual, the paper manual that came with the game. And I mean, you could argue that type of thing at least was giving us a little bit of problem solving.
That's Metal Gear Solid-esque.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Now I'm starting to sound like an old. In my day, the games used to actually mean something. Now it's just YouTube cheats and stuff. I mean,
well, Legend of Zelda and Metroid, those games you had to go ask friends about because they were freaking bizarre. No normal person would ever think of how to get to Dungeon 5 in Legend of Zelda.
They were designed by people who either had OCD or Asperger's, one of the two. Like it was ridiculous. Like you would have to have OCD or Asperger's in order to figure that stuff out.
Well, the game would give you clues, but the problem is by the time we went through the meat grinder of Japanese to English translation, the clues meant nothing. Yeah,
and in some cases it was like if you're not sitting there with a piece of graph paper drawing out like the map to the level you're in, you're going to get left behind as well. I mean, it's I don't know. This is kind of turning into a games were better in our day type of thing. But then I think that's probably my point, is that I would probably do the same thing you're doing, just gradually introduce them to the older games. Try to hopefully steer them away from video game or commercials for like the new games, because of course once he sees a commercial for, yeah, I know. Well, if we just let him watch like only Netflix, he'll never see any commercials. I'm hoping to raise this kid in like a Truman Show utopia where he doesn't even know about.
Well, I think my problem is he sees me playing games, and honestly, I can't wait for him to play games with me.
Yeah,
I mean, right now he's just absolutely terrible. He's trying to play New Super Mario Brothers Wii, and he keeps asking me to help him out with like Super Mario Brothers and stuff, and he wants me to play this level for him. But the next level just gets tougher. When I was his age, I would beat those levels.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. Like, there was those original games like Super Mario Brothers and stuff. You would have to, I don't even know how to describe it. You'd have to build up like a muscle memory that you just by doing the level over and over and over again. And there was no alternative. Like, if you wanted to get past this level, you just had to memorize how to do it. And I don't know, do you think your kid's going to have that type of patience?
He better. I'm not beating those levels for him.
I think that's probably the frustrating thing. Like, I've played some games with kids and, like a nephew, and it's like there's a really quick frustration level where it's just like, let's just play another game. Let's play Let's Dance on the Wii or something. So, I don't know. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it just kind of works out. I mean, that's the same thing for like movies or music or anything. Like, they can always just look at me and say, "Well, this is crap. Why are we watching this Flight of the Navigator movie? I don't know anything that's going on in this movie. This guy's making a voice that sounds like Pee Wee Herman. And I don't even know who Pee Wee Herman is." So there's always that chance that the stuff that we enjoyed growing up is going to be kind of useless to them.
I've been on a kick lately. Getting back to those games that I used to buy a lot of, PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid. Did you ever play that?
No.
I know
no, I take that back. Yeah, I definitely played it, but it's one of those games where I think I put about an hour into it and just kind of got frustrated. And it's one of those games where it's a stealth game, right? I'm just not a stealth guy. I don't do the sneaking around. I just want to go in guns blazing. And
did you play it when it was fresh, or did you play it trying to go back to it later?
Yeah, I played it probably sometime within the first year after it came out. I haven't played it since, no.
I can say that, for me at least, that game kind of fell into the time that was like the best days of the PlayStation. Kind of that same season, had that one, had Castlevania Symphony of the Night, had Resident Evil 2. Had games I just had a blast playing. And I've been kind of on a Metal Gear Solid kick lately, and it's been difficult for me just because the game really is stupid. Just stupid beyond all belief.
Like Lost in Translation from Japanese to English stupid, or?
No, I'm pretty sure it's stupid in Japanese too. I think the key difference...
Like intentionally stupid?
No, it's not. I think the key difference is it seems very Japanesey in the plot, but it's just absolutely terrible. The plot is just this mangled mess of nonsense.
Yeah.
It got to the point where whenever there'd be a cutscene, and there are plenty of them in this series, my wife would just roll her eyes.
That's probably where it lost me too, because I do remember those like silly cutscenes. Like, am I supposed to be paying attention to this? Mm-hmm. Is this just here for entertainment? Because if it is, it's not entertaining. And I think I felt that way about a lot of those PlayStation games. Like, I think Resident Evil 2 had like the tank controls, and I think tank that controls. Put me off too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you press this button to move forward.
Yeah, that was a Resident Evil thing. I know what you're saying.
And it was just one of those things where it's like, this is, I don't know. I always got frustrated by this. When you go from like playing Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64, where you got like that free range motion, and then you go to Resident Evil 2, it's like, oh, come on, man. What do you guys... I understand. I guess the whole point was to build up a little bit of suspense and kind of limit your motion, make you feel like you were trapped, and
Well, I think
make it a little scary.
I've got a good friend who I met in college who kind of comes from the same boat as you, where he didn't play a lot of games growing up.
Yeah.
But he was just incredible at two games, Mega Man 2 and Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I remember he'd come over and hang out for a week when I was at my parents' house. It'd drive them nuts. But I'd go to work at FedEx in the evening, and he'd start playing Resident Evil 2, and he'd insist on not saving, and he'd go through both discs without saving, just because he could. He was nuts. He was fantastic.
What about a power outage? What does he do? I guess just glutton for punishment, just kind of...
He'd beaten the game enough times where he wasn't really that worried about it. Yeah. I think there was one night where he got killed at the last boss. So
yeah, that wouldn't be great.
It happened, but man, he was incredible.
So what are you gonna start your kids off? I mean, what is your oldest? What is he playing on the Game Boy?
Right now he's been playing some Mario games. He started with Revenge of the Gator. Are you familiar with that one?
Vaguely, yeah. That's not a pinball game?
It is a pinball game, and it's actually
okay. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, one of the best pinball games to come out of like the older era, like the 16-bit era. I mean, it's a really good pinball game.
I remember you being a fan of that.
Yeah. Yeah. He played that. He played the old Super Mario Brothers, because there's that remake of it for Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
And it turns out the music on those games is every bit as irritating as my parents always told me it was.
Is there something magical happens to your ears once you have kids, or it's just like, oh, this beeping, blooping, this is ridiculous?
Exactly. I'm just like, turn the damn sound down on that, son. You're driving me absolutely nuts.
Headphone jack, right? All right, so what's next? Is he playing anything else?
Well, so I had to bump him up to Game Boy Advance SP just because this poor old Pokemon Game Boy Color, I'm not sure if the speaker's going out on it or what.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll probably pass him Super Mario 3 next.
Nice.
I mean,
that's another game that's also the hidden stuff, and but I think can be kind of like a father-son bonding thing where you kind of hover maybe, and when he says, "Hey, I'm stuck here," you kind of help him through it. Or
no, I say, "Tough shit, get through it, son." I didn't whine.
That's true. I mean, does he? Answer this for me. When he does he do the thing we did when we were kids? Like when he's running and jumping over a pit, does he like does he like move his hands up like as though that's going to help him?
Well, you can't really do that on the Game Boy one because then
because you're trying to look.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
We should try it out, man. Play it on the. I guess you can download it on the Wii, right? You can play it on there.
Oh, I already have, man.
That's been my game plan, is to get some of those old games through the Wii.
I don't want to shove old games down his throat, but he really wants to try Pokemon. He just can't read yet, and that's going to be
it's kind of
that's going to be a handicap with Pokemon.
But hey, man, that can be what helps him read.
Plus, I drove from Indianapolis to St. Louis just to get Mew, and I'm not going to let him save over that game.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's Well, I don't know, man. So what would be the next game? He's 5 now or 4?
He is 5. He just turned 5 in May.
Does he treat it like it's Christmas morning when he gets a new game, or is it just kind of like, all right, Dad, if I have to?
I was giving him a new game every day when I got home from work, and it got to the point where he'd follow me up to my room where I was going to take a shower, and he wasn't saying, give me a new game. He was just hinting. That's what he does. He says, so...
Do you think maybe there is another one?
So, do you have any other Game Boy games? Do you think I could see them? Do you have Pokemon?
Does he have to earn it? Does he have to...
No, but if he's really rotten, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't make him earn it, but he just... last week he had shot his brother with a dart gun and hit his mom on the elbow when she took the gun away from him. So it's like, you're not getting the game tonight, son.
That's not...
And give me the dart gun.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do is I'll probably work through some of those older games. I think, it's tough for a kid to go from one of these newer games to one of those older games. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe some of the Nintendo stuff is so well made that it still kind of stands the test of time. But some of the, I think that's kind of the way to do it, is to introduce to him slowly. The other thing I was going to ask you about was what about violent games? What's your policy on that?
My wife and I have different stances on this. My feeling, when I was a kid, middle school, high school, even elementary school, I remember going back to Commodore 64. There was a game, Friday the 13th. I guess vaguely based on the movies. But every now and then I just had this image of some really gory, horrible thing happening that would go to. I'm not that worried. It kind of depends on how my son turns out. I think the connection between kids, like violent kids and violent games, is overblown. I think it's more of a situation kind of like pit bulls. The problem's not the dog, it's the owner. In this case, it's, parents who let their kids just play what the heck ever might not be very good parents to begin with.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but I know a situation where there was an 8-year-old that I know who was... he asked me if he could play a violent game. I don't remember exactly what it was, but his mom was around, and so he was like, "Well, listen, it's up to your mom." And his mom was like, "Well, do they harm any dogs?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't think there's any dog harming." She's like, "Okay, well then he can play it." She was okay with him doing horrible, despicable things to other people's faces with guns, as long as no dogs were harmed.
Face Blaster 2, so I played that game.
Yeah. So it was like, that's to each his own. I've found again that I'm pretty conservative about that stuff. I'm getting kind of anxious about him seeing anything get shot by anything until he's well into the double digits.
I think I was playing Doom in middle school. Wolfenstein 3D definitely. I think maybe not Doom until freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
And my parents just didn't know. Now, I plan on being a parent that knows, but if he wants to play Grand Theft Auto when he's 13, if he's not a sociopath, if he's doing his homework, if he's doing well in school, it's fun.
Yeah, it's a matter of recognizing, it's a matter of, I guess, just if whether or not he can recognize whether or not that's reality and fantasy, that type of thing. I hear you, kid, man. I hear you, kids.
I know, my window's closing, man.
All right, well, listen, why don't we wrap this up? I want to say before we go that if you guys wanted to call into the podcast and ask a question or make a comment, you can just give us a call. It's 347-676-0830. Just leave a voicemail, and we'll get back to you. We'll play it on the podcast. Again, 347-676-0830. This has been the podcast for How to Raise an Awesome Kid.
I'm so excited.
Eric, thanks. Yeah, man, I can't wait too. Thanks for your time, Eric. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, good to hear from you too.